Hello and welcome to today's episode of Windows Business Weekly. I'm going to talk about changes to Windows Search and two vulnerabilities that Microsoft patched this week that you need to get installed as quickly as possible. So stay tuned. So this week saw Microsoft's monthly Patch Tuesday, and there were two vulnerabilities in the remote desktop service that you need to get fixed as quickly as possible. Now, these particular problems are what Microsoft has termed wormable. And what that means is that a hacker could potentially exploit the vulnerability to move laterally around your network without any user interaction at all. So they're particularly dangerous. Microsoft issued a special warning saying Windows users should install this month's patches, so that means the cumulative updates for Windows 10 and of course the security roll-up for Windows 7 as soon as possible. So I can't stress that enough, that you should get these patches tested in your environment as quickly as you can, because while these bugs are not being exploited at the moment, there has, I believe, already been a proof of concept released by Google, if I remember, if it's the same vulnerabilities that Microsoft issued a warning about. So it's only a matter of time before, of course, the bad guys start using these vulnerabilities against us. So have a look at getting those installed and tested. As I said, they could be used to infect your systems without any kind of user interaction at all. So they're really important to get installed. Apart from that, nothing. Of course, there was a whole load of patches, mainly for Windows, a couple for Office. Most of the patches are addressing issues with how processes or how the operating system handles objects in memory, so memory vulnerabilities, as usual, always at the top of the list. And we've gone a second month without any kind of update, security update for Adobe Flash Player, which is kind of miraculous in itself. So you don't need to worry about that this month. But as usual, you need to do all of your testing and get the patches installed as quickly as possible. So the only other really interesting thing that I want to talk about this week is that Microsoft recently released an update to Windows 10 20H1. So that's the build that will be released to the general public probably around spring sometime next year. I'm not really keen to talk about these insider builds so much because obviously you're not going to be using these in your production environment. But sometimes there are some interesting changes that are just worth knowing about, that they're going to be coming at some point down the line. So the first thing that struck my attention was some changes to Windows Search. Now, actually, some of these changes actually apply to currently released versions of Windows, which is a bit odd, not just the 20H1 build that insiders received this week. So Microsoft has said that they have updated Windows Search. So if you, for instance, use the taskbar to search for something, let's say you want to open an application like PowerPoint, but you misspell it, Microsoft Search will now be able to understand those small spelling mistakes and hopefully show you the search results that you were looking for anyway. Now that's really important. Microsoft is saying that it's going to be new in 20H1 and that they've also rolled this out to current retail versions of Windows. Now I think this has actually been in Windows 10 since the May update was launched. Maybe I'm completely mistaken about that, so I'm not really sure that this is new to Windows 10 1903. Maybe it is, I'm not really sure. So anyway, what Microsoft is saying, I managed to confirm this on my PC, definitely, yep, if you misspell something like PowerPoint, it will show you PowerPoint anyway, it's not a problem. It's a little bit of a shame that they haven't seen, or they don't seem to have extended that necessarily to the task view. So when you search for something there and you get like all the cards with all your activities. It doesn't seem to work quite as well there, if at all. But if you're searching from the taskbar, then definitely I think this is really important, because if you search for something in Google, very often we misspell things, but nevertheless you usually get the results that you're looking for. Google will say, did you really want to search for this, and we're going to show you these results with the correct spelling as well. And now that looks like it's nicely built into the Windows taskbar. So whether you're searching for documents or you want to open an application, a small typo shouldn't stop you from doing that. There are a couple of other improvements to search. The improved search, so kind of showing you the top activities and results and things that we got in 1903, is now being rolled back into the October update, I think, or is it the 1803 update from last year? So people on older versions, not the current 1903 version, are going to get the 1903 kind of search experience in their version of the OS as well. Now, I'm not really sure that Microsoft has done this very much in the past with Windows 10. So you get an updated search experience basically without having to install the latest version of Windows 10. So I'm not sure really whether that's a good idea or not, because maybe organizations might of course be taken by surprise that suddenly the search interface is changing for users where it hadn't anticipated that change. But nevertheless, that is what Microsoft is doing. Anything else I want to say? Yeah, I guess also in 20H1, maybe what's also quite notable, although I'm not sure that many people make use of virtual desktops, is that now you'll be able to rename your desktops. So at the moment, if you add a new virtual desktop in the current version of Windows 1903, you basically get desktop 1, desktop 2, desktop 3, and that's all very well, but you can't rename them, so it's kind of meaningless. But now in 20H1, Microsoft are changing that interface. So in Task View, you can right-click on the name of the desktop, the default name, and you can name it whatever you like. You can even add emojis there if you want. So I think that is something quite useful. I know that people have been asking for that in the Feedback Hub. So Microsoft is clearly listening. It's probably taken them quite a while to add that feature. There are still some issues I have with the virtual desktop in terms of usability, but I think it's an important step forwards that now actually we can name our desktops to something a bit meaningful for us. So I think I'm going to leave it there this week. I think there's already quite a lot in a short amount of time. So you need to get your production systems patched, 2 wormable vulnerabilities that will probably already very soon be exploited by somebody, and some interesting changes to Windows Search, which should make the productivity of your users better, of course, and just reduce some of those irritating things. When you're looking for something and you can't find it, just because you've made a stupid mistake with a typo. So I think all of these little changes that Microsoft is making are really important, and I'm looking forward to seeing more improvements to Windows Search in future builds. So one thing I will briefly mention before I end is I think search is really important, because we have so much information, and I don't know about you, but quite often I know that there is some information somewhere. I don't know where it is. I don't remember. Was it in WhatsApp? Was it in Facebook Messenger? Was it in an email? Was it in Teams? But, I know it's there somewhere, but I don't know, in which application I have to search. So I don't remember whether I've talked about it before on these podcasts, but in 20H1, Microsoft is building Microsoft Enterprise Search directly into Windows 10. So while it wouldn't allow you, obviously, to search something like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, it will allow you from one place to search your entire Office 365 tenant. So I don't need to remember, was that piece of information in a OneNote notebook? Was it in an email? Was it in Teams? I can just open search in Windows, and I can search across the entire tenant from there. And I think that's also a really important development. You can do that currently in the web, actually. If you open Office 365, that is the search experience that you get in the web browser. That is coming into Windows. And I think that's going to be a really cool thing. So anyway, really now I'm ending. That's it for this week. And I'll catch you next week.